Hello everyone, welcome to the U.S. Immigration. If you're a green card holder, visa holder, or anyone preparing to travel into or out of the United States, December 26th brings a major shift in how you'll go through border checkpoints. Starting on that date, a new nationwide system becomes active, and it will completely reshape the way the U.S. verifies and tracks the identity of every non-citizen entering or departing the country. This isn't speculation or online noise. This is an official change coming directly from the Department of Homeland Security, and it applies to millions of travelers. Whether you're studying in the U.S. on an F-1 visa, working here on an H-1B, living here as a lawful permanent resident, or simply visiting relatives on a tourist visa, it's important to understand exactly what's changing and what you should expect. Stay with me because I'm going to break this down in clear, simple language so you know precisely what this new biometric entry-exit system means for you. Welcome back to USA Immigration Hub, your reliable source for accurate, verified updates on U.S. immigration rules and travel procedures. Today, we're covering one of the biggest nationwide changes to border screening in years, the full expansion of biometric collection for every non-citizen entering or leaving the country. This change has been in development for a long time, and it represents the final roll out of a requirement Congress first pushed after the September 11th attacks more than 20 years ago. Before we go deeper into the details, if this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss key immigration updates that could affect your travel or legal status. And if you find this information helpful, please hit the like button and share it with anyone who may need to prepare for these changes. Now let's get started. So, what exactly is changing? On October 27, 2025, the Department of Homeland Security issued a final rule in the Federal Register. The rule titled, "Collection of Biometric Data from Aliens Upon Entry to and Departure from the United States" officially takes effect on December 26, 2025. Here is what the rule actually does. Starting December 26th, U.S. Customs and Border Protection will be permitted to collect facial photographs from all non-U.S. citizens at every entry and exit point. That means international airports, land borders with Canada and Mexico, seaports for cruise ships, and even private aircraft arrivals. The rule eliminates previous restrictions that limited biometric use to test locations. It also ends age-based exemptions that once excused children under 14 and seniors over 79 from facial recognition checks. You know, it's important to understand that this technology isn't brand new. If you've passed through a major U.S. airport recently, you may have already experienced it. CBP has been testing and slowly expanding facial recognition at multiple sites for years using pilot programs. What changes on December 26th is that this becomes official national policy everywhere, not just at selected airports. So, the pilot phase ends and the system becomes permanent, and for the first time, this will apply consistently to departures, not only arrivals. The system works through something CBP calls the Traveler Verification Service. Now, when you approach a screening point or a departure gate, a camera takes your photo. That image is automatically compared to photographs the government already has, like your passport image, visa image, or previous travel records. The system checks the match within seconds, often faster than a traditional manual passport check. Now let's clarify who this applies to. This rule covers all non-U.S. citizens. That includes green card holders, lawful permanent residents, all visa holders, F-1 students, H-1B workers, L-1 employees, J-1 exchange visitors, tourists and more, visitors from visa waiver countries, refugees and asylees, individuals with temporary protected status, diplomats who previously had exemptions but are now included in the system. U.S. citizens are not required to participate in mandatory biometric collection. American travelers who prefer not to be photographed can tell a CBP officer or airline staff member and will undergo a manual passport check instead. However, and this is critical, this opt-out option does not apply to non-citizens. For everyone else, biometric screening is mandatory. One key clarification: this rule was originally introduced during the Trump administration in late 2020. The Biden administration reopened public comments in early 2021, and the finalized version was published in October 2025. This has been a bipartisan, national security priority supported by multiple administrations due to post-9/11 federal requirements. Now, let's talk about the real purpose of the system and how it affects travelers. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the primary goals are national security, accurate identity verification, and immigration enforcement. The new system is meant to stop several long-standing issues, including travelers using fake or borrowed passports, individuals overstaying their visas, people who were previously deported, attempting to re-enter, and, incomplete or inconsistent travel history records. For many years, the United States had major gaps in exit tracking. For example, when someone drove into Canada or Mexico, there often wasn't an official record documenting the departure. For most lawful travelers, the day-to-day experience shouldn't be dramatically different. In fact, many people report that facial recognition screening is faster than traditional manual checks. Usually, you simply look into a camera, the system verifies your identity, and you continue. However, there are some important things you should know. First, this system creates a complete travel history for every non-citizen. Immigration officers reviewing your visa extension, green card renewal, or citizenship application will now have immediate access to your exact entry and exit dates, all verified through biometrics. This is especially important for green card holders. Permanent residents are required to treat the United States as their primary home and avoid long, unnecessary absences. Before the system, occasional missing records or unclear stamps made it easier to explain travel gaps. But now, with every crossing recorded through biometric confirmation, any extended trip abroad is crystal clear to immigration officials. Next, let's discuss accuracy and how this technology works in real-life situations. While facial recognition technology has improved significantly, DHS acknowledges that no system is perfect. Factors like lighting, camera angles, shadows, or changes in your physical appearance can sometimes affect how quickly the system identifies you. Research shows that accuracy can vary slightly among different groups. For example, people with darker complexions, older adults, and women may experience a slightly higher chance of a mismatch scan. So, what happens if the system fails to verify your identity? You'll simply be directed to secondary inspection. This is a more detailed process where a CBP officer checks your passport manually and may ask routine questions. In most cases, the issue is resolved quickly, but you should be aware that it can add a few extra minutes to your travel time, especially at busy ports of entry. Let's talk about privacy. CBP states that photos of U.S. citizens taken during the process are deleted within 12 hours after verification. However, photos of non-citizens are stored in the DHS biometric database for up to 75 years, which is consistent with current policies for immigration and travel data. DHS has published multiple privacy assessments explaining how the data is collected, stored, and used. The rule also allows for collecting other forms of biometrics such as fingerprints or iris scans, but facial recognition remains the primary method. Now let's break down what this means for different groups of people. Green card holders. You already know the authorities check your documents during re-entry. The difference now is that your entries and exits will be documented automatically and permanently. If you travel frequently, apply for citizenship, or need to renew your green card, immigration officers will review this timeline closely. The long-standing rule still applies. You really need to avoid staying outside the United States for more than 6 months at a time, unless you have a strong reason and supporting documentation. If you expect to stay abroad for an extended period, maybe for family emergencies, business medical treatment, or other reasons, you should consider applying for a re-entry permit before traveling. It doesn't guarantee protection, but it helps prove your intention to maintain United States residence. Visa holders, like F1, H1B, L1, J1, B2, and so on, your legal stay in the United States is tied to very specific dates and conditions. With the biometric exit system, your exact departure date will now be automatically recorded. Even a short overstay becomes visible immediately in the system. For students on F1 visas, maintaining proper status is more important than ever. The records will show if you remained past your allowed duration or violated your status rules. Applicants for any future immigration benefit, when you apply for a green card, citizenship, or visa extension, USCIS officers will have a precise timeline of when you entered, when you left, how long you stayed, whether you overstayed, any repeated extended absences. This means keeping your own records accurate is very important moving forward. Now that we've covered how the system works and who it affects, let's look at what travelers should expect in the coming months as the rollout continues nationwide. The Department of Homeland Security has made it clear that this expansion will happen in phases, not all at once. That means different checkpoints, airports, land borders, and seaports will adopt the system at different times, but the end goal is the same. 100% biometric exit tracking for all non-citizens. Alright, so, heavy checkmark Phase 1 major international airports. The first wave includes airports like JFK in New York, LAX in Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago O'Hare, Atlanta, Houston, and Dallas. Most travelers passing through these hubs will, notice automated kiosks or gate-mounted cameras. So, the system compares a live photo with the image from your passport or your previous DHS file. In most cases, the confirmation takes about 2 to 3 seconds, and then boarding just proceeds normally. Heavy checkmark Phase 2 land border crossings. This phase is, more complex. At land borders, especially where millions of crossings occur annually, DHS plans to introduce vehicle-mounted and pedestrian lane biometric scanners. You may see cameras installed above exit lanes, vehicle-side facial capture devices, automated license plate readers, and pedestrian e-gates with facial verification. Travelers exiting to Canada or Mexico will increasingly pass through these biometric checkpoints, even if they've never had to stop for exit processing before. Heavy tech mark Phase 3 cruise ports and seaports. Cruise passengers will also see updates. Most major cruise lines already use biometric entry upon arrival in the United States, and now the Department of Homeland Security is expanding the system to include biometric exits as well. White medium star. What this means for your immigration applications. A major change is how USCIS will use entry and exit data when reviewing applications. Because all travel information will now appear automatically in your immigration file, officers will, compare your stated travel dates with Department of Homeland Security records. Any inconsistency, even a small one, may trigger follow-up questions. 2. Verify how long you stayed outside the United States. This is especially critical for green card renewals, I-130 and I-485 reviews, naturalization, and 400 re-entry permit applications. If the biometric history shows many long absences or frequent travel patterns, USCIS may ask for additional proof of U.S. residency. 3. Confirm you did not overstay your visa. The system can now detect overstays within hours instead of months. Immigration officials can immediately see if someone exceeded their lawful stay. Even a short overstay, sometimes caused by misunderstanding, can appear clearly in your travel history. White medium star special notes for green card holders. Green card holders often overlook one important rule. extended stays outside the United States can be seen as abandoning permanent residency. Before biometrics, it was honestly a bit easier to explain unclear travel history. But now, the system records your exact departure, your exact arrival, the total number of days you spent abroad, and even the frequency of your foreign trips. If you leave the United States for more than 6 months, you should expect USCIS to take a closer look at your case. And if you leave for more than 12 months without a re-entry permit, the system will flag your return automatically, and Customs and Border Protection may question whether you really intended to keep your permanent residence. White medium star special notes for citizenship applicants. So, the N-400 is the form you'll need for naturalization. The Department of Homeland Security will use your biometric travel record to check 2 things: 1, your continuous residence, and 2, your physical presence. Even small discrepancies like forgetting a short trip are pretty easily noticeable now. That's why keeping personal records that match Department of Homeland Security data is more important than ever. White medium star 4 visa holders and students. Whether you're on H-1B, L-1, J-1, F-1, or B-2, the new biometric exit system creates a precise timeline of your movements. USCIS and CBP can now verify if you left the US on time, if you re-entered lawfully, whether you violated status conditions, or whether you failed to maintain required attendance for students. So, this level of tracking means that even small errors, like forgetting to extend your I-94, can become a lot more visible. Alright, what you should do to stay safe. Here are the most important steps to protect your immigration journey. First, keep your passport, visa, and travel documents clean and organized, and your passport photo should clearly match your appearance to avoid any delays. So, number 2, keep your own travel log. Write down entry dates, exit dates, and the purpose of your travel to each destination. And, make sure it matches DHS records as closely as possible. So, number 3, avoid unnecessary long trips outside the United States. If you really have to stay away for several months, make sure to keep evidence showing your ties to America. Things like lease agreements, employment records, tax filings, utility bills, and bank account activity are all important for always maintaining your legal status. It's important to renew your documents early. Also, do not work without authorization, and for students, never drop classes without talking to your DSO first. Number 5, prepare for extra screening. If the system can't match your photo, it's not really a problem, but it might mean you'll spend a few extra minutes in secondary inspection.